I think it's worth an interesting hypothetical here, PJ. Like, what would the haul have to be for you to give up on Fernando Mendoza with the Raiders having Kirk Cousins, having Aiden O'Connell, being, it's been what, 6 years, 5 years since they last made the playoffs, and they barely had a playoff appearance in the last 2 decades. We know they need a quarterback. Fernando Mendoza just took the world by storm this past season. So, like, what would it realistically would it take for the Raiders to give up the number 1 overall pick? Let's pretend you're John Spytek here. What would it take for you to say yes to a number 1 overall pick trade?
They have to get a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Like that it starts there. So obviously Mahomes isn't getting traded. Allen isn't getting traded. But I think just about after those two, potentially, maybe everybody else is on the table. Could they entice the Ravens enough to get Lamar? Could they entice the Bengals enough to get Burrow, maybe Herbert, Hurts, Dak? Like that's the caliber of quarterback that I think if the Raiders were to trade Mendoza, you would have to go get. Like, I'm not trading Mendoza for like Bo Nix, I'm not trading Mendoza for, I don't know, like Baker Mayfield, to throw out another guy, somebody middle in the pack there. Like, it's got to be a proven NFL MVP caliber quarterback, that I know I can win with. And that's the only thing, because again, I mean, you're getting Mendoza at number 1. Most people think this guy's going to be a star. You've been looking for a franchise quarterback forever. Every NFL team knows that if they want to win the Super Bowl, they're going to have one, just about. So it would take a lot. I don't think there's really enough draft capital that any team could throw at them. I think it's all about the caliber of quarterback that they would get in return for a trade. So I think it would be a top 10 QB, Pat. I think that's where the conversation starts. If a team calls them and say, we'll give you 4 first-round picks, I think they hang the phone up. I think it's got to be, we'll give you our quarterback and maybe even some draft compensation, and we want Mendoza.
Wow. So you think draft compensation wouldn't do it at all? It has to be a current top 10 quarter. That's crazy. I wasn't even thinking about that. And how about this? Glenn Kubiak, new Raiders head coach, former OC of Seattle. How about Sam Darnold? You take Sam Darnold. He just won a Super Bowl. You can win with him.
You can. Darnold's a tough
Sam Darnold and their first round draft pick this year and maybe next year.
I don't think I'd do it. I don't think I'd
really.
Do it. I don't. I just, that defense was obviously so great. You're throwing arguably the best receiver in the NFL and JSN. The Darnold one is so tough, Pat, because I think all of us have this tough distinction of how much it's hard to just wipe out what you saw so many years from Darnold. You know what I mean? Like, it's just hard to totally erase that from your mind, where you got to give him all the credit in your world. Not everybody wins a Super Bowl, and not everybody plays as well in the playoffs as he did. Yeah, definitely have to give him his flowers. You got to credit him. And I think right now he should be talked about as a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the NFC for sure. But would I be willing to go all in if I was a team just off of 1 year? I don't know if I would be. So Darnold, like guys like Darnold again, Bo Nix, who I threw out, I wouldn't even do that. A guy like, are you even sold on guys like Drake May or Jaden Daniels? Like, have you seen enough from those guys to be willing to, if you were in the Raiders spot, you would take a shot on a guy like that?
Jaden Daniels, no, because the injuries this year and the unwillingness to slide last year. Not that he got hurt this year because of a lack of sliding. It was basically, he did get hurt trying to reach out, and that dislocated his elbow. But the first injury he had was just because he got sacked in the pocket. But still, I wouldn't do it for Jaden Daniels. Hell no on C.J. Stroud if I'm the Houston Texans. Probably not Herbert. I got to see the guy win a playoff game. Like, if you're telling me, Joe Burrow for the Cincinnati Bengals, for Joe Burrow and their 10th overall pick this year and their first round pick next year, then we might be talking. But part of the beauty of having the number 1 overall pick is that you don't have to pay Fernando Mendoza for the next 4+ years, maybe even 5 years. So it's like, that's you take on a top 10 quarterback, you're taking on a $55 to $60 million salary. And, after all the money the Raiders spent this offseason, now all of a sudden you're going to take a trade like that. So that's why for me, it would only be draft compensation. And I would let the Jets jump up to number one. I would jump back one pick. You could you could take anybody else in the draft, right? Because the Jets are taking Mendoza. You could take anybody else. You get the Jets number 2 pick this year. So you just swap spots. And then I would want all 3 of their first round picks next year. And honestly, I think that would be enough. I think that would be enough because then not only would you have 3 first round picks next year, the Raiders would keep their first round picks. So you'd have 4 first round draft picks, and you would get to pick anybody else that's not Fernando Mendoza. And that's 5 first round picks in the next 12 months. If you hit on 3 of those guys, 60%, you hit on 3 of those guys, like you immediately have become a playoff team. And one of those next year would be your quarterback. You're delaying your quarterback search by just a year. And I don't know, maybe I'm underselling it. Maybe it would be the Jets' first round pick in 2027 as well. So I would want 4 first rounders from them plus their number 2 pick this year, just to swap with them, number 1 and number 2. And maybe that's where I would set the line at if I'm John Spytek. I would want purely draft compensation because if I'm the Raiders, I don't want to take on a quarterback that's already got some rust on him that I'm going to have to pay $55-60 million unless it is somebody like that's in that conversation with Joe Burrow and the second tier of elite quarterbacks behind Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. To me, it wouldn't be worth it.
I think I agree. Our guy Monty threw a good one in the chat. He said, what about Dallas trading Vegas, Dak Prescott, the Cowboys 12th and the 20th picks this year? If you're Raiders, I would take that. Absolutely. You get Dak.
Really? You would take Dak and
yes.
just the 2 picks this year?
Absolutely. Oh. I would do that.
PJ, yep. I think you'd be run out of town in the next 24 months.
I would do that. I think I would. You get the 2 first rounders and you get a top 10 NFL quarterback. I would make that trade.